Hey guys, what's up? So we have dealt with the part 1.1 that deals with the introduction to science and technology, then part 2.1 that dealt with chapter number 1 to 8 of class 6 NCERT, then part 2.2 that dealt with chapter number 9 of class 6 NCERT. Since it was a very big chapter and I thought I'll cover it in elaborate details, that's why I sadly could cover only one chapter in one video. Now we have the part 2.3. It will be dealing with chapter 10 to 12, and then the remaining parts will be dealing with chapter 13 to 16. This will complete our class 6 science NCERT in either 4 or 5 videos, and this is presented by me, and this is the YouTube channel Unacademy. If you have any doubt or any query, obviously you can post it here on the Facebook or the video link below the YouTube. So obviously you have to focus on the keywords and the summaries. This is the key why I am making these videos. The only keywords and summary can make your effort reduced by 80 to 90%. If you just focus on these words, you will have to spend very little energy and you will get the maximum outcome. Now chapter number 10 deals with motions and measurements of distances. Obviously a chapter from physics. So only the summary of it, like boats were there initially as mode of transport since ancient time. Simple log of wood with a hollow cavity. They were then modified to resemble shape of aquatic animals. Till date we are doing the same. Like planes will resemble flying eagles. So this is called as biomechanics and biomimicry. So we try to mimic them, and we try to produce our machines according to the biological beings. Till early 19th century, animal power was used as mode of transport very commonly. They were called as beast of burden, example horses, bulls, etc. Then steam engine was invented in 1730s by Newcomen, and it was improved in 1750s and 60s by Watt. But it got popular only in the 19th century, and it led to the huge revolution. 1760s से लेकर के until 1800 it was not that popular as mode of transport, but after that it just got booming like anything, and it created industrial revolution. One of the biggest contributor of industrial revolution was steam engine. Now 19th century railways become commonplace. Like वैसे तो railways 15th century से हैं. In Europe there were wooden rails and all, but they were not mass transport and all. In England they were fairly commonplace in 1840s, but India is one of the first country in the world because Britishers were having the government in India back then, and they wanted to transport goods from interior to ports. That is why they developed railways in India. Well placed in 1850s, 1853. Everybody knows from Thane it started. Then from 1910s aeroplane was developed both for commercial purposes as well as for army. World War One में बहुत bombing हुई है aeroplane से. World War One was fought between 1910s only. So and commercial flights also started. And now in 20th century they see electrical trains, monorail, supersonic aeroplanes, spacecraft, satellite, etc. 21st century में they are talking about vacuum transfer, instantaneous transfer, etc. etc. So these are the various modes of major transport. Now there is a small concept called as distance versus displacement. Let's say this is my house A and this is my friend's house B. So the road goes like this, and this is a, let's say a huge construction work is going on through which no passing is allowed. So the distance will be easy to measure. This point to this point and then this point to this point is called as distance. That is the total length you actually travel, while displacement is the shortest route through which you can actually travel if no constraint are there. So this point is called a displacement and this is called as distance. Displacement is always either less than or equal to distance. So distance is always more, or at max it can be equal to displacement. Now measurements of length is extremely important and need of a gold standard is essential. पहले क्या होता था, लोग अपने फुट से नापते थे, तो किसी का फुट बड़ा होता था, किसी का छोटा होता था. ऑब्वियसली इट डिपेंड्स फ्रॉम पर्सन टू पर्सन. सो फ्रांस में किसी का बहुत बड़ा होता है, सब कॉन्टिनेंट उतना नहीं होता. देन इन केस ऑफ यूनिट basically deals with fixed basic unit of measurement. That is what we needed, a standard unit. And whenever we measure, let's say my weight is 70 kgs, so 70 is the number while kgs is the unit. And where does this kgs come from? Basically French developed a method which is called as metric system, which had SI units. It's called as Systema International, something like that. It's a French word which means international standard units. So these are the 7 units. You must remember them by heart. It can be asked anytime. So meter is for the length, kilogram is for the mass, second is for the time, ampere is for electric current, Kelvin is for temperature, candela is for luminous intensity, and mole is for the amount of substance. You must be knowing these four at least. So these three will be might be new to some of you. Science के लिए तो बिल्कुल भी नहीं होगी, science students के लिए, but you have to remember these 7. Now this diagram shows interdependency of these units on each other. Is that understood? So how do you define meter? So meter is defined as a distance which is traveled by light in 1 upon its speed. Is that understood? So light speed is 3 lakh kilometer per second. Okay, 3 lakh kilometer per second. This is the speed of light. So now what is 1 meter? So 1 meter is equals to, you get the idea, right? So it is depend on second speed. Now what is second? So you get the idea. So second is now again dependent on meter. So all these units are dependent on each other to for their calculation, except Kelvin temperature, which can be calculated on its own. Most of these units are dependent on each other for calculation. So ampere is the electric current, meter is the length, second is the time, kilogram is the mass, candela is the luminous intensity, mole is the amount of substance. Now these are some metric prefix और SI prefix आपने बहुत यूज़ किए होंगे. जब मैं बचपन में when we were small we had some floppy drives which were having size of kbs, that is kilobytes. Then came pen drives which had size of megabytes. CDs also had size of megabytes. Then these converted into gigabytes, and now we have hard disk of terabytes. And now the internet servers are also there which are size of petabytes, and soon we'll have big servers of Facebook and all which are already existing in exabytes, and Google servers will soon cross something called as zettabytes. So these are the certain things, like kilo means 10 to the power 3, mega or it means 10 to the power 6, giga means 10 to the power 9, tera means 10 to the power 12, peta means 10 to the power 15, exa means 10 to the power 18, and zeta means 10 to the power 21. It might be asked sometime, it's always good to remember them. And iota is 10 to the power 24. So at least remember giga, peta, tera, exa. These are all very common. Kilo तो हमें पता ही है कि 1 kilometer has 1000 meters, so it means 10 to the power 3. Mega is 10 to the power 4. Million and mega are same. Okay, million and mega are same. Giga and billion are same. Is that understood? And tera and trillion are same. So they have some common things. Hecto means 10 to the power 2. Deca means 10 to the power 1. So 1 decameter is 10 meter. Deci means 10 to the power minus 1. So it means 10 centimeters. Centi means 10 to the power minus 2. So it means 1 centimeter is equals to 1 upon 100 meters. And micro means 10 to the power minus, just tell me what is the answer. 6. 1 micron. Is that understood? Then you can use milli also, but it is only used in meter. Milligram and millimeter, you must have heard 10 to the power minus 3. Then nano is 10 to the power minus 9. Then pico is 10 to the power minus 12. Femto is 10 to the power minus 15. बस यहीं तक जाते हैं, ऐसे नीचे नहीं जाते usually physics में भी. So 10 to the power minus 15 is femto. ये nucleus level पे पहुंच जाते हो आप atom के. Beyond that usually we do not go. Atom of a nucleus we have reached. And if you want to have one or two more, so 10 to the power minus 10 is called as angstrom. It is usually used for measuring DNA length, various helix of DNA. 10 to the power minus 3 is called as milli. So these are all the various features. I hope you remember few of them at least. It helps in scientific calculations. Now straight line or rectilinear motion is the motion between 2 points. So if you are moving from this to this is called a straight line motion. Circular or rotational motion is basically if you are moving, let's say a fan, so it will move something like this. This will be the one position, this will be other, this will be other, this will be other, this will be other. So basically this radii will be remain same and it will cross a circle. So when the distance from a fixed point remains the same, that point is called a center. It will experience a centripetal force while the particle will experience a centrifugal force. Just like in case of not Earth per se, because Earth rotates in an elliptical orbit, but Earth also have a centripetal force towards the sun, while centrifugal force because it is rotating so away from the sun. Now periodic motion is motion of pendulum. So one time pendulum is here, at the extreme it will be here, at other extreme it will be here. So after this entire motion from here to here, it will again repeat it, and this position will again come back. So it repeats itself after some time. This is called as periodic motion, while rolling motion is ball being rolling. So let's say this point is there, let's say this point. So now when ball comes down here, so the point will come this side. Now when the ball comes here, then the point will come this side, and now when the ball comes here, then the point will again come this side. So as you can see, it is both a rectilinear motion because it moves in a straight line, as well as a rotational motion because this point is moving. Example, ball rolling, etc., or wheel moving, etc. So these are the four basic type of motion. There are other type of motions also which you read in higher level physics, but this will suffice for now. Now we have the chapter 11, which deals with light, shadows and reflections. Very introductory chapter. So what is luminous object? आपने जुगनू देखा होगा गाँव में. They write on their own, they light up their own. There are various fishes which have heads, which have torches like structure. So they are called as luminous objects which light on their own. So objects which are emitting their own light, example stars like sun, etc., they are called as luminous objects. Now let's say if you close all the lights right now in your room and supposedly it's extremely dark, pitch dark, you're not able to see a thing. But as soon as you turn on the light, you are able to see things, because let's say this is a light source and this is an object and this is your eye. I'm very bad at drawing, so anyway, just focus here. So the light will travel from this point and it will touch it, and then it will hit your eye, and then you are able to see. So this light source is not there, this path gets broken and you are not able to see. So light will fall on an object first and then it will travel to your eyes. Is that understood? And only then it will be visible, unless it is luminescent on its own. So कुछ चीज़ होती है ना, रेडियम चमकता है घड़ियों में and all. So that is visible, but most of the objects are not luminescent. And on the basis of visibility and passage of light, objects can be classified into three types: transparent, opaque and translucent. When you can see everything and no shadow is cast, this is called as transparent. When a perfect shadow is cast, it's called opaque. When a slightly less shadow is caused and some light is allowed to pass, it is called as translucent. It is somewhere in middle. Now shadow is an cast only in an opaque structure. It needs presence of light, it needs presence of an opaque object, it needs a reasonably close screen in the background, and it gives an idea about the shape of object, and it may mislead also. So let's say this is an object, this is a light source, this is a torch. So if you strike something like this, so you need a screen or a wall or something like this here, and there will be the shadow will be cast. It may give the representation, it may mislead also. For example, whenever light used to go in our locality, we used to make hands like this crisscrossing, and it will give like shape of a deer or shape of a dog or something like that. And obviously light travels in a straight line, that is also for given, that is granted. Now there is a concept called as pinhole camera. Basically it is nothing but there is a box and inside it there is a smaller box. So you just cut a hole in the box and you just covered it with a black cloth, the box as well as your face. So now it is essentially, it is a light proof box without a lens obviously, and it has a single small aperture which is called as pinhole. Now क्या होगा, light will pass through this single point, this single hole, and it will produce an inverted image on the opposite wall of the box. I'll show you the diagram later. Now there are natural pinholes also created when there is small spaces in between tree leaves. So when sunlight falls, you can actually see on the ground the circular image of the sun. Sometimes it's visible, sometimes it's not. You can try this during the eclipse, but please do not look directly in the sun. It might hurt your eyes very badly. Now reflection is change in direction of light, book के according, but technically it's wavefront because sound also reflects and all. So change in the direction of light or wavefront between two different media, but the thing is the light should return to the original media. अगर ऐसा नहीं हुआ, then it is called as refraction. अगर दूसरे मीडिया में चली गई, that is called as refraction. So mirrors, lakes, ponds, they are all reflecting surfaces. And there is something called as TIR also, which is called as total internal reflection. इसमें क्या होता है, light, the media is so dense that it just gets reflected in its own, and the angle of incidence is more than critical angle. Anyway, I'll explain this later. And this leads to the formation of mirage in desert. This also leads to formation of rainbows. so etc etc. This also leads to diamond sparkling. So these are the reasons of, these are the causes of TIR, total internal reflection, not refraction. पेरिस्कोप आपने देखा होगा कार्टून वगैरह में, टॉम एंड जेरी, मिकी माउस एंड ऑल, पानी में से निकाल के एक इंस्ट्रूमेंट देखते हैं, यूजुअली सीन इन केस ऑफ पनडुब्बी, दैट इज कॉल्ड एज सबमरीन्स, उनमें वो लगा रहता है. नाउ इट इज़ वेरी वेरी सोफिस्टिकेटेड. So basically it is an instrument which makes observation of an object possible. This object would otherwise will not be visible because it is not in direct line of sight of observer's current position. So let's say this is a wall, okay, and there is an object here, and you are standing here, and there are lots of trees and something like this here. So just make a device something like this, something like this, and like this. You place one mirror here and one mirror here, and then you are able to see this object. So otherwise it will not be visible because it's not in your line of sight, you can't see it, but it, with the help of periscope, you can see it. So this is an example of a pinhole camera. Basically there is a box outside also, it, you cover it with a black cloth, and then you can see through this pinhole, and when you see, this entire object is inverted here through this pinhole, and it is produced on the opposite wall. But the key point is you need to be covered with a black cloth, otherwise it becomes very very difficult to visualize. This is an example of a periscope. So this is your eye through which you see. So there is a mirror here, there is a mirror here, so object is somewhere here, otherwise not possible to visualize either underground or above ground. So let's say there is water here, so you can now visualize it with the help of a periscope. Now the last chapter is chapter 12 for today, is electricity and circuits. So basically electricity, how do you define it? It's a physical phenomena. Physical है, presence and flow of electric charge which leads to lightning, static electricity, electromagnetic induction, electrical current. So these are the four basic phenomena of electricity. It means presence and flow of electric charge is electricity. Now carelessness should be avoided because it can cause injury including death around electricity. So our body is a conductor, you should always remember this, and our body is a decently good conductor. Now electric cell, what do you mean by cell? Cell is basically storage of energy in the form of chemicals. It has a metal cap which is the positive terminal, and it has a metal disc which is a negative terminal. So you must have seen cell of Nippo के बहुत देखे होंगे, गोविंदा ऐड करता था. This is called as the positive terminal metal cap. This is called as the negative terminal metal disc. Usually complicated structure, बीच में एक rod होती है ऐसे, cathode anode. Let's leave it. Now chemicals are there which stores electricity, and once started it goes on depleting forever and ever even when not in use. तो ये नहीं कि यूज़ करके रख दिया और फिर 6 महीने बाद निकाल रहे हो, it will be all gone. First cell was called as voltaic pile. It is said to be the first cell. It was discovered by Alessandro Volta way back 300-400 years ago. Now joining these two ends without a switch or device will lead to consumption of chemicals very fast. So please don't join them. If you want to उसको खराब करना है तो you just end with the help of a copper wire and it will be finished within a day. Now electric bulb, the thin wire in the bulb that gives light is called as a filament. पहले होते थे bulb, अब तो आपके ज़माने में नहीं होते होंगे. Now this filament is made up of W, which is called as tungsten. W is the chemical symbol periodic table में. Tungsten has the highest melting point. Since tungsten is the highest melting point, it becomes extremely difficult for it to melt, and that is why it is used as a filament. While its breakage due to voltage fluctuation will lead to the bulb being fused, and then you have to replace it because circuit will be broken and no light will be glowing. Now bulb also has two terminals. One is the base of the bulb and one is the metal tip of this base. These are the two terminals. They are fixed such like that they never touch each other, otherwise there will be a short circuit. And bulb was discovered in part by Thomas Alva Edison. Now filament of the bulb is connected to its two terminus, as I have already told you. The filament, which is the part that glows, made up of tungsten, which has highest melting point on this planet Earth of pure metals. Now bulb will glow when electric current passes through it. Is that understood? Now material that allow current to pass through them are called as conductor, which means electricity can pass through them, circuit can be complete. They are all metals, most metals like copper, silver, iron, etc. They are good conductors. Silver is the most perfect conductor on this planet, and as far as metals are concerned. there are various switches, there are electrical plugs, and there are sockets which are made up of these conductors. Those which do not allow the electricity to pass are called as insulator. They have high resistivity, they do not allow the current to pass because of their high resistance. Example, air is a perfect conductor. आपको करंट तो नहीं लगता बैठे बैठे because air is between us, so it is a almost a perfect insulator. Then plastic, rubber, wood, ceramic, polyethylene, जो polythene वगैरह होती है, paper, mineral oil, they are all insulators. Any touchable or exposed part of the electricity or electrical appliances are covered by insulators. Example, electrical wires, plug tops, switches, etc. Now, what is a switch? Switch is a simple device that is used to break or complete electric circuit. So, electric circuit कैसा होता है? Let's say this is a cell and this is a bulb. Okay. So, one wire will be connected from here, one wire will be connected from here. Let's say there is a switch. You put a switch here. Let's say safety pin. So if you just connect the safety pin, the bulb will glow. If you do not connect, the bulb will not glow. As simple as that. So the simple device which is used to break or complete the electric circuit is called a switch. What is closed electrical circuit? When electric current passing from one terminal to another and direction of current is from positive terminal to negative terminal. It's a closed electric circuit. Open electric circuit में no current will pass. Now, why rubber gloves are used by electricians in their screwdrivers or testers, etc., etc.? Because rubber is bad conductor and it will prevent them from getting any electrical shock in case if some malfunction happens. So, like always, just be brilliant with the basics, rest all will follow. And this is the Twitter. Please spread the word and part of this education revolution if you want to be. This is the Twitter handle. You can tweet to me at my Twitter handle at Saini. Thank you for watching the video. Have an awesome day.